Hello, friends, it's Mrs. Gorski back. And today what we're going to be doing, we're going to be comparing some numbers today. So we are talking about three-digit numbers specifically. So what I want to do here first is before we even start comparing, I want to read each number. So here's for my first example. I have 537, and then I have 264. So when we think about comparing numbers, the first thing we need to do, we need to look at the number in the greatest valued spot. So here we have the hundreds place. So we have a 5 in the hundreds place, and then we have a 2 in the hundreds place. So since these numbers are both different, I can compare them. It would be quite difficult to compare numbers that are exactly the same because they have the same value. However, when you're looking at a 500ths versus a 200ths, I could compare those. So here's the scoop with that. So when I'm looking at 5 versus 2, I know 5 is a greater value. If I'm just looking simply at the 5 versus a 2, or if I'm even thinking about the value, 500 versus 200. So I know 5 is definitely going to be the winner on that. So now here comes the point that I have to put the correct symbol in there. So let's look at our symbols. I have this symbol, which it would say greater than. I have this symbol, which would say less than. And I have this symbol, which would say equal to. So when I have a 5 and a 2, I'm going to show you a good trick in order for you to know which one would go in there. So since we said 5 is a greater number, I'm going to show you the dot trick. 5 is greater, it's going to get 2 dots. 2 is less, it gets 1 dot. And what am I going to do? Connect the dots. So watch how I do it. So looking at what I have, this is how I would read it. I just don't want to say 537 is bigger. I don't want to say 537 is more. There's a better way that we could go about reading it. So let's read it correctly. 537 is greater than 264. So now we're good to go. Let's look at our next example. We have 628 and 649. Now, you know when we talked about this, we want to start with that greatest value. So the greatest value, of course, is going to be our hundredths place. So let's look at it. So we have a 600th here. We have a 600th here. What did we say before? If the numbers are same, it's going to be hard to compare those, especially in that same spot. 600ths versus 600ths. The value of 600 versus the value of 600, same thing. Can't compare those. So I got to take it a step further. Let me look at my tens. So here I have 2 tens. Here I have 4 tens. Let's talk about the value. 2 tens means 20. 4 tens means 40. So since they're different, I could totally compare those. 2 versus 4, we know 4 would be greater. So let's do our dot method. Since 4 is greater, they get the 2 dots. 2 is less, gets the 1 dot. Let's go ahead and connect our dots. So now, how would I go about reading this? 628 is less than 649. Stay tuned. We got some more examples. Okay, we're back. So here we go. We have a new example. let's read our numbers. We have 837, then we have 839. So first step, let's take a look at our largest value, which of course is our hundreds. 8 hundredths, 8 hundredths. Can't compare them. Exactly the same. Let's take a look at our tens. 3 tens, 3 tens. Not going to help us out there either. So where do you think we need to go? To the ones. 7 ones, 9 ones. Okay, now that could help us out because they're different. So when they're different, we could compare them. So let's think about this now. 7 ones, what's that value? Just a 7. 9 ones, what's the value? Just a 9. So let's think about it. Who would get the 2 dots? Who's greater? Definitely my 9. So let's give them the 2 dots. 7 is less. It's the 1 dot. What are we going to do? Connect those dots. All right, so now we need to read this correctly. So here we go. 837 is less than 839. Let's take a look at our last example. We have 425 and 425. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's look at our greatest value, which you know is the hundreds. 4 hundredths, 4 hundredths. And compare them. Exactly the same. 2 tens, 2 tens. Nope. Still can't do it. 5 ones, 5 ones. Can't compare those either. They're exactly the same. So when we're looking at 2 numbers that are exactly the same in place value, same in value, what does that mean? They're exactly equal. I don't have to worry about any dots here because one is not greater versus less. We have exactly the same. We have equal. So how would I read this? 425 is equal to 425. Well, boys and girls, I hope you like our little tutorial on comparing some numbers. As well as I always say, please practice at home, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Bye, everyone.